You guys are going to go nuts. I am so excited to share with you what just happened. I just had a great guest, Greg Lobsiger. You may or may not know him. Got him on the podcast today, and we are talking shop numbers. How profitable are you in your shop? How much are you paying your technicians per hour? And are you actually making a profit on them or losing money? We're talking about stuff that most shops just don't understand. We don't know our numbers. I owned a shop. I really did not know my numbers. And I'm embarrassed to say it, but it's the truth. And we really need people like Greg and others out there to help us so that we are not just working our butts off for nothing. Let's make it worth our while. Greg is so amazing. You guys are going to go crazy over this information. We're actually going to do a part 2 because it's so freaking good. Stay tuned for today's episode of Body Bangin'.
Welcome to Body Bangin', your podcast for all things body. Auto body, that is. And now, introducing Body Bangin's host, Mickey Woods of Mickey Woods Marketing. Mickey is a former auto collision center owner and is now a marketing and business development expert to shops across the globe.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of the Body Bangin' podcast. Today, I have on a special guest. I am super excited to bring him to you. His name is Greg Lobsiger, and he's from out in Indiana, and he's got a body shop called Loren's Body Shop. And Greg, so happy to have you on. Thank you for coming.
Well, thank you very much. Hopefully I can give somebody some value. That's our plan anyhow. So.
Oh, I'm sure you can. So for all of you that don't know, Greg posts quite a bit on Facebook and a lot of the Facebook body shop groups. And that's where I found Greg. And just reading through his posts, he has so much knowledge. It's like this little hidden gem that I found. I was like, I got to have this guy on the podcast. So I'm happy to have you, Greg, seriously. And I think we'll probably do a second podcast to this one where we can really get into some numbers. But I thought let's just start out with just first of all, Greg's been in the industry for basically his whole life. Loren's Body Shop was his grandfather's shop. So he's been in the industry a little while. And today we're going to talk about a few different topics, but let's kind of chit chat about this craziness that we're having right now in the world. All shops are slammed, crazy busy, and everybody's wondering why that is. Greg, what's your take on that?
I mean, we all know about the whole COVID thing and people being cooped up and wanting to get out. And of course, there's less people, at least over the last 2 years, there's been a lot less people commuting together.
Yes.
Everybody, they're not carpooling and that kind of stuff. And that's a factor, but then of course the cabin fever is a factor, but without question, the gauge for that is miles driven, and miles driven is through the roof. People are driving everywhere, and the demand for gas, of course, as of right now, is higher than it's ever been, and probably will continue to go down with EVs as they start showing up more. But that's the demand is through the roof. We've been running 8 to 9 weeks out. I've got some good buddies that are 3 months out. Right now, we're back down about 6 weeks out, but and you still lose a few here and there, not a lot, but you have somebody trades their car. There are a lot of different reasons that people will cancel, but we've probably lost maybe 4 or 5 jobs, so not a ton. But you hate to lose any because you don't feel like you're able to take care of the customer. But so that's being able to handle the workflow too is another. That's a major issue. I'll put it that way. So,
yeah. And just for everybody listening, if you're not familiar with Greg's shop, they run about 300,000 a month. And so how many cars approximately are you working on a month right now?
Well, we're running about 65, someplace right in there.
Okay.
It worked out to be about 3.5 cars a day, roughly. And if I did that math, it should be pretty close to that, I hope. But we focus more on per day rather than we do for the month, because each month is different. March had 23 working days. February had 20 working days. I talked to several buddies that had highest profits ever in March. Well, yeah, because you've you went past at least 2 days of your break even,
Yeah.
so your profit better be better than the other months that have 20 or 21 working days. So
yes. Yeah. And that kind of leads us to another point is profitability. So there's so many shops out there. And just recently I had on Rachel James. She's a financial advisor and she helps shops. And similar topic of a lot of shop owners think they're doing well because they're busy or there's money in the bank. But that really doesn't tell you how profitable you are. And Greg has done some great posts on trying to figure that out and learning numbers. So share a little bit with us, Greg, about your take on shop owners and the lack of knowledge there.
Yeah, I mean, we all want to, we all want to turn cars and all those things, but it's not about trading dollars, and trading dollars is a bad thing. I mean, unless you're looking to sell out an MSO here real soon, and you're just trying to either buy shops and get as much gross sales as you can. I know the multiplier is pretty strong right now on gross sales, but I want to take money home. That's I worked very hard. And I've got 7 figures invested in my shop, and a lot of years and tears and blood and all that stuff, and a lot of Saturdays. And I want my technicians to make very good money without question. I want to take care of those people. They have families and so forth. But I better make stinking good money, and that's what it comes down to. And there's shop owners out there, and I know what it is to struggle. I probably lost 15 years by not swallowing my pride and getting some outside help. And that's the honest truth. But back to all those years of struggling, I want to be I know what it's like. And so I want to, therefore, if I can, with the Facebook posts and stuff like that. And I'm at the point of my life that I'm financially free, and I don't need anybody's money from any place. Your attitude kind of changes a little bit, because then you really don't care what people think. And so I threw a lot of stuff out there that I paid for to learn. But if I can help the guy who's struggling, I'll be 55 next month, and my days on this earth are numbered. I know that. I'm in good health, but I'm sure I'm past the halfway point. And if I can help another shop owner, by God, I'm going to do it, because at least if I can give back a little bit, and because watching these guys struggle and not make any money is hard for me. So.
Yeah, it really is heartbreaking. And that's what really drew me to Greg's post, because Greg, when you post, you have such a genuine heart and what you're sharing. And there was somebody actually I don't know if you remember this, but on one of the Facebook groups, and they were like, well, what are you trying to get from this? And kind of being snotty. And I was like, and Greg says, I'm just trying to help. If I can help somebody, then I feel like I've done my job. And I thought, wow, what a cynic. But I get it, because people, it's always, well, what can I get out of it? But I can tell, Greg, from your post that you really just want to help people. And that's really where your heart is. And that's really what moved me to want to have you on, because I am very similar in the way that I do work. Our time is worth something, but we also have a heart to help. And in this industry, there's so many people and so many shops struggling and suffering. And if we can be a positive light and help out, then, let's do it. Let's all on board.
Yeah. Well, there was something I saw the other day, and again, my time is valuable, but if I can reach out and help somebody, that's great. But they were complaining about rates, and I'm right there with them. I mean, we all know the rate situation. I get it. I 100% get it. You got different parts of the country have higher rates. Let's say it comes to repair times. Well, the repair times in a low rate market may be double of what they are in a high rate market. But that also, the low rate still applies to R&Is. I get all that. I understand that. Mm-hmm. But trying to get them up is we all need to be trying to do that. But the guy was complaining, I mean, just negative about rates. And I said, here's the deal. I said, even if the insurance companies move the rates to, say, $100 an hour, like mechanicals, 150, 160. I know all this stuff. But if they get them rates, get those rates that high, let's say we were paid $60 an hour for paint materials. Well, then they're going to drive down the repair times. They're not going to give the additional, the line items and all that other kind of stuff. And there's still going to be shop owners out there that are broke. That's just, it don't matter what they pay. The market will adjust. It will adjust. And no matter what they pay, because if everybody would flock to the collision repair business, if that was the case, and some guys just don't understand that. And so, yeah, I could ramble on that for a while. So.
Well, and it's a great point, though, that and like you had said before, which I think is so important, rather than us having a mindset of let's pack as many cars into the shop as we can, let's drive our sales up as high as we can. We have these record-breaking months. But if you're not profitable, and I learned this in my own, when I owned a shop and then even opening up my own marketing business, when I first started, I had more clients than I had ever had, but I was working myself to death. And at the end of the day, I looked at what I was actually profiting. It was minimal versus changing things up, looking at the numbers, learning how to manage my business, doing less and making more. Hello, come on, with less stress. So I think what you're talking about, I totally resonate with. And I'm sure, I know there are shops listening right now that feel the same, but they just don't even know where to begin. And where do you learn that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
Well, and where did you learn? How did you learn?
Well,
the hard way.
Yeah. I mean, it was about 2000. I owned my shop I worked for my uncles from 85 to 2000. So, and they were running it the way my grandpa ran it. And when they retired, and one of them's gone, and the other one's 87 now. And so I can say this, in year 2000, after 45 years each, they were making $31,000 a year each. And this was in year 2000, around 99.
Wow.
So then I went from 2000 to 2008, and I made money, but I was the only A-tech in our shop. If it didn't get off the frame rack, it was never going to get in the booth, or same thing with quarter panel and all that. And so I was cold called by a consulting outfit out of California, and things have changed and it's not the same and all that. But at the time, they hit the nail on the head what I needed. And because I told my wife, I went home and I said, hey, I'm about as close to nervous breakdown as I've ever been. I didn't know what a nervous breakdown was. But I knew I was close to one, and by God's grace, the next day I was cold called. We hate solicitors, and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But I just happened to listen, and I still have friends from that group today. That one of them we still text in another group every day. Actually, two guys, and but guys that we all learn together. And you've got to spend money on coaching, and where things are right now, I'm still continuing to work with a lean coach. And you get into athletes and all that other stuff. They may have one area that they're needing work on, and they'll spend money on coaching. And I can't encourage it enough. I've spent easy $250,000 in coaching, but it has been worth every penny. I love to tell you my profit, but I don't want to go down that too deep there. But it's money I never imagined. I'll word it that way. And my technicians, we've got 9 guys, and my wife helps just a little bit, and then myself, and I'll have 6 of them at the end of this year will be in 6 figures. And then we'll have 3 of them that will make between 85 and 100,000. So I want to take very, very good care of my people. If they win, I win. We have a group bonus. That it's a global bonus between everybody in the front and the back. We don't have flat rate techs, and I'm not saying you can't run a profitable shop with flat rate techs. You can. There's just a little bit more you kind of subcontractors that you have in your shop, and so you got to kind of work through that. But I'm not dogging that. I just know what works for me. Yeah. And we run a lean system, and with teamwork and so forth, you really have to have people that are willing to help each other at any point. We have guys with point of use carts that will travel across the shop to go help somebody else that's behind on a car. And it's really fun. We have a lot of fun. So, yeah.
That's great. Total teamwork. I love that. Yeah. And that's one misconception that I think our industry is kind of notorious for is having just big egos, and I'm going to do it and I'm going to figure it out, and nobody needs to tell me because I got this. And it's like, once we can kind of get over ourselves, I guess, and realize that actually getting help, there's a strength in asking for help and getting help, because nobody knows it all. And if you think you do, you actually look like more of a fool than saying, hey, I don't get it. Come help me. Then if you're doubling your profit, or even, by 25% more, now who looks like the fool, really? Kudos to you for stepping up and asking for the help, knowing you need it. And I think that's like a huge stumbling block for so many people right now.
Well, and it's pride. That's what it comes down to. We have to be willing to swallow our pride. And it was when I was at a nervous breakdown, when I was at a breaking point, that's when I finally said, you know what, the way that my grandpa did it and the way my uncles did it, as much as I love those guys, there's got to be a better way. I've got to talk to somebody smarter. Up until that point, outside of local people in our town, I'd never been to another shop. And getting away from your shop, get your rear end on an airplane, get in a car. I don't care, whatever. Get out of your county, get out of your people that are in your market. Just get away from those, because it's negativity. You're not gonna rarely are gonna hear anything positive. Now, right now, maybe there may be more discussion because there's so much work. But if guys are in a cutthroat market, get on an airplane, get away from your shop. Get out to somebody that's knows what they're doing, and maybe I can go to anybody's shop and I can learn something. There's something I'm like, that is a great idea. Now, the only catch is with visiting another shop, you can take your phone and you can take a ton of pictures, and they may have created a really cool solution to a problem that they had, but you may not have that problem. Because first thing in your head, I'm going to go back, we're going to build that. And that's going to have the same effect that it had for them. No. As I was taught, you have to understand the thinking behind the solution that they created to fix the problem that they had. It took me about 3 years at least to understand that. A little thick, and it's just but get out into other shops and talk to other owners, especially guys that are doing well. I'm going up to Illinois here in a few months to visit a shop. They have an awesome paint department, and I'm taking my painters with me. And,
awesome.
We're gonna, you have to get your, and take your employees to nice restaurants, stay at a nice hotel. Not going to spend $10,000,
right?
But just treat them a little bit. So anyway.
No, I agree 100%. When I got into the industry, I didn't know a thing about auto body. And that's what I did is I went and I toured as many people's shops. If they'd let me come, I would go. And I learned so much about collision repair, running your shop. I mean, things that I wouldn't even have thought of, stuff that's just not on your radar that somebody else is thinking of. You're like, whoa, that never even crossed my mind. I mean, wow, it's very humbling. You realize that we live our life in like this little bubble. And then once you get out, you're like, oh, there's this whole world out here. People are doing all these amazing things. I had no idea. I mean, we have social media now, which is great because who would, Greg Lobsiger wouldn't be able to get out to the numerous people that he gets out to if it wasn't for social media. But actually stepping foot in those shops is so powerful, powerful. And the fact that you take your people, that's really great.
Yeah, you just just getting them out. I actually sent them, we all went to a leadership program over, it was $5,000 a piece. And everybody in my shop went except one at different times, because we had the shop's got to keep running.
Right.
It was a wonderful experience, but that we all, each one of us had participated in. But you're willing to spend some money on these guys and improve their life. It improved more than just our working together at our shop. It improved their home and so forth. So long story on that.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. Hey, would you like to increase the number of cars in your drive? Well, look no further. The Mickey Woods marketing team provides collision center specific marketing. We use proven techniques to not only increase your sales, but put money in your pocket. Visit us at collisioncentermarketing.com, or you can find my personal contact information in the show notes. And let's get your 2022 off to a body banging start. So let's get into something really practical that the people on the call, either watching or listening, can do in their shop. And I thought it would be kind of neat to get into this. You had posted about technicians and figuring out what their cost per hour is. And I thought it was something that it's not extremely complicated for somebody that doesn't know their numbers. This is an equation that will be easy. If you're watching on YouTube, I'll put a screenshot of what Greg had showed up so you can see it using my magic. But Greg, go ahead and explain how that works.
So I was actually helping a shop owner, and he was pretty heavy on his technician cost.
Mm-hmm.
And so we went ahead and put all of his hours together that I think we did like last 4 months, and put all the hours together. And then, his build hours on estimate hours, is what I'm talking about, whether that be in CCC or whatever management system, last 4 months, and how many working days, because, every month's got a different amount of working days. January had 21, February had 20, March has 23. I mean, that's kind of a roller coaster ride, but it comes down to working days. And of course, December, I think, had 21, as I recall. But anyhow, we end up, I think it was back to, we included, we would have included November, December, January, February is what we included. And but you took the amount of working days that they had, divided that the amount of hours that they produced in those 4 months, in those working days, and then took the actual technician cost. Now, you can start splitting hairs when you start loaded, unloaded, whether that includes health insurance or vacation, payroll taxes that the business has to pay, a lot of things, IRAs, different things like that. But as a rule, if if you can be unloaded, you want to be in maybe the 16, maybe as high as 18% of sales would be your technician cost. Just kind of keep that in mind. But another way to look at it with our global bonus deal, all of my guys are clock hour, the technicians on the floor. And if the gentleman that I was working with, like I say, he was heavy on his technician cost because he had a hybrid. He had clock hour people and he had flat rate people. Long story short, he was paying about $26 an hour in a $46 an hour market. Wow. $26 an hour in a $46 an hour market. I mean, that's worse than it was 50% commission it was 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So it is, I'm all for support. I totally support for his paying your technicians and make sure those people are taken care of and very well. But from a profitability side, it was about 6% of net profit was paying overboard on the technician. So, if you could stay at a 65% GP, labor GP, so if you bill $100 worth of labor, you would want to pay out unloaded about $35. So let's say if it was $50 an hour, $50 an hour, we'd be at $17.50 an hour is what we would be paying. Well, most of the country is above $50 an hour. But anyhow, but you take your technician costs that you had for that 4 months, you divide that by your build hours that you produced by that 4 months, and that'll give you the cost per hour. And if you're totally flat rate in your shop, then that number should be pretty close. But if you have a hybrid or you have just clock hour people, that's going to tell you the story where you're at. So yeah.
Well, and now how did he know that he was heavy? That he was paying his techs too heavily?
This is back to having our P&L set up correctly. It is crucial. There's so many. I would say it's more than 50% of the shops, in my opinion. I know we've got more MSOs and all that, but let's take the independent shops. Without question, the independent shops, in my opinion, that what I have seen, their P&Ls are, you can't read the things.
Yeah,
they're not set up at all. You'll have gross sales. That's it. That's all that's in there. I mean, what percentage of your sales was paint materials? What percentage of your sales was labor? What percentage of sales was parts? Yeah. They don't even know if they're, some of these guys don't even know if they're making money on paint materials. Hey, I spent 10% of sales or 12% of gross sales on paint, but I don't, I have no idea what I spent, well, look, then you'd have to add up all your jobber bills and then total that up and then divide that into your gross sales. And well, shoot, they may be at 9% cost on paint materials, we want to strive to be at a 50% GP on paint materials. And it's very achievable if with good estimating. And I know the rates and all that kind of stuff, but you can invoice. Paint invoicing to me is you got to be careful. I'm not saying you shouldn't paint invoice, but what I'm saying is that don't let bad estimating, paint material invoicing be a Band-Aid for bad estimating is what I'm trying to say. And so, there's a lot to that. But anyhow, back to technician costs. You got your administrative costs and so forth, but the technician costs, you got to keep a handle on that, or it can get out of hand, and it's really hard to take money back.
Yeah. So I can only imagine how you would rectify that problem, because I guess that's the next question. Like, oh, goody, I am severely overpaying my people. Now what? Like, oh, by the way, I'm cutting your pay. They're like, yeah, right. There's a technician shortage, right?
That's touchy. I mean, I could talk about lean stuff for a long time, but you just you'd have to have a sit down. You got to have to sit down and you got to lay the cards out and saying, hey, here's the deal, folks, and especially if you got a hybrid deal or something like that. And there's some ways you could offset it possibly. You may have to drop some administrative staff down and then give these technicians a little bit more administrative jobs. Maybe they can write supplements. I mean, there's a lot of different things, but if you're especially in a flat rate shop and way overloaded, way heavy on your technician cost, that should be a no-brainer. Because your flat rate pay is too high. And I understand there's some markets that, if your labor rate's $50 an hour, they may have to pay them $24, $25 an hour just to keep people. If it's a cutthroat market, but people don't always leave for money. We know there's the culture aspect, and I enjoy working. And I've had two of my employees are what I call boomerang guys. I mean, they left, went to MSOs, and come back.
There's a lot of those.
They're here to stay. So
Yes, that's right. Sometimes they got to see that the grass is not greener to appreciate the grass that they have.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
And that's amazing. The fact that just looking at the numbers is so powerful. But I think the biggest issue is like, where do we begin? What do we look at? So if you have a shop and again, I'll put up the infographic that Greg had shared before. So if all of that is sounding a little confusing, sometimes when you see it, it makes it a little bit easier to digest and comprehend. But if you have a shop that's like, I don't know my numbers. I've never really looked at my numbers. I just, whoever does my book says we're good. So we just keep doing what we're doing. Where would you recommend they start? What would be the first thing? Would that be the P&L?
I would back up even beyond that. There is quite a bit of support through your paint company, through your paint supplier. And there are business development managers that they may not actually do it themselves, but they may have their go-to guy because as whether it's, Exalta, PPG, BSF, Sherwin-Williams, all these companies, Axo and all that, the more their shops, the more profitable, the more profitable they can make, makes them happier, of course, the shop owner, but the more cars they can help them turn and so forth and manage better, obviously the more paint they're going to sell. But that's as far as from a cost standpoint, that would be the first place that I would go.
Great point.
I know of probably at least 3 individuals in the country that's what they do is they help guys get their P&L set up. Well, take an example. They're using CCC1 management system to get that mapped correctly. And then when I first started, I'm talking about 2007. I mean, my P&L was 1 page long. And it didn't make any sense. I mean, I had wages, I had sales and parts, which included paint, parts, and sublet. You can't manage that way. And there was, I had no idea what I was doing. And now my P&L is 7 pages long.
Wow.
Not that it has to be. Your overhead costs, you could shrink those down pretty much, and I might have 3 pages to my P&L. But having it set up correctly, and then getting somebody to mentor you on how to read it. And that doesn't happen overnight. Hey, my paint material, I'm not making any money on my paint material, Mr. Jobber, and I need more discounts. Discounts could be a factor, a factor, but there may be terrible estimating. You should shoot for 10 refinish hours per RO. Well, if you're at 7, you're going to have an awful time making money on paint materials. You can paint material invoice and and all that kind of stuff, but those are options. But just you got to have good estimating. Your painter may be a little sloppy, and maybe putting too much paint on. At least in Exalta side, the metrics are is 2 ounces of water base for every refinish hour on the estimate. Well, if you have bad estimating, you're not going to have enough paint. That's just all. And solvent is 2.5 ounces. And it's hard. You shoot a bumper, you're going to have an awful hard time covering that thing with 7 ounces of paint. It's going to be extremely difficult. But if you got a key scratch down the side of a car, you're going to be able to do it in an ounce and a half.
Yeah.
But you don't know what you don't know. And so you've got to figure these things out. And rather than yelling at our people, and getting on them and all that, we need to build a system that they can work in and know what the score is. We meet twice a day, and every day my guys know exactly what the score is, where we're at in our global production bonus goal that we have, and I can talk about that for hours, but they know exactly where we're at. They understand it. I understand it. It's hard for me to explain to somebody.
Yeah.
But that's not. But we understand it as a team, and they absolutely love it, and I love it. And when they meet that goal, every person in my shop, and we're on our third tier now. Each tier was $833.33 that they would get a bonus per month, or extra 10 grand per year. And,
wow.
It's been very fun. I didn't think it was sustainable after the year 2, but it's with lean coaching and eliminating waste and making every move count. There was a guy who was in here visiting my shop on Monday, and he said, people aren't moving fast. No, but every move counts.
So
I could talk about that for quite a while. So
yeah, well, I could listen to it for quite a while. I'm like intrigued. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's great. So many good points. And what's really great about it is I feel like no matter who's watching or who's listening, this is relatable, because there are some shops that have no idea. They have no idea about numbers. They wouldn't know where to begin. So a lot of it is foreign, and it sounds like a great idea. And maybe, hopefully that the technician cost per hour, maybe that's just a little, eye opener for them. But then we also have people listening, and I can think of several off the top of my head that are really into their numbers. And a lot of this is really going to resonate, and some fantastic ideas and points that you're making that sometimes we just need to be reminded of. Like, it's really not always about, I see a lot of shops that are so busy, and people are literally running when they're driving the car around, off the lot, maybe back to the dealer or wherever it needs to go. I mean, it's screeching around the corner, and it's like, whoa, like, I get it. But like you said, let's be deliberate, because if you work with a performance coach, moving faster is not necessarily better. That leaves you, then you're in this manic state. And that's really where you start getting a lot of errors. And so imagine how many things you're screwing up that you're going to have to go back later and fix, that you're missing because you're just trying to power through.
So as an example, in one of they call it the lean toolbox. There's a lot of things in the lean toolbox, but one of them is what's called a spaghetti diagram. And so you would take your shop, and if you have an outline of it on a table or something, you know what I mean, and just the outline of your building, and maybe where the bays and stuff are, and some guys have really nice stuff that was drawn up when they built their facility.
Right.
But from the time that customer pulls up, goes into CSR, and here's my keys, and then leaves, put a 0 on your board that you have on your table. Put a 0. Okay. Now that car is going to get moved to staging someplace, wherever that may be.
Right.
Draw an arrow leading that to where that spot is. Put a 1. Okay. Now we're going to bring it in to maybe to go detail, maybe to pre-wash it. Okay. Now draw another line to that next spot, number 2. Okay, now we're going to take it back in and blueprint it. Now we're going to wait on parts, take it back out again. Each time that car stops, put a number and put the line. And by the time you get done, there's many shops when they get done, it's just a big plate of spaghetti.
Yeah.
There's lines all over the place.
Right.
All at once, you're like, oh my gosh, what are we doing here? There's got to be, every time you've got to go find the keys. Every time you got to move something else so you can move this car. I mean, and how many times is an insurance company or the customer going to pay you to move their car? None.
Right.
So why do we do it sometimes 25 times? And we get, as I was told, sometimes the customer almost needs a free oil change. It's the truth. And that can be in anything. It can be in the way we process an invoice from the time the customer, the vendor had the partial delivery guy hands you the invoice or puts it in a rack. How many stops did that thing make until it finally gets put in the, whatever it is, cabinet or whatever, and the statement is paid. How many stops did it have?
Yeah.
How many did it go through? It just stop and think about that stuff. And so I could talk about that for days. So.
Yeah, well, really good point and really great visual. I mean, the second you said the spaghetti map, I just pictured, and
it's true.
yeah, and I lived it. And I see it in my shops all the time that I work with, and I still love to tour shops. And the shops that are very into lean, what a difference. What a difference just on their procedures and protocols for just operating are so well thought out, so different. I think it was Michael Giarrizzo came on and he talked about, everybody sitting and putting ideas up on a whiteboard of, in an ideal world, what would this look like? Mm-hmm. And kind of like, re-engineering, how are we doing this? How can we be more efficient? Because he's really into lean principles as well. But it takes the group, it takes the team to figure that out, because it's like, how did we get to this major spaghetti mess? It's just kind of, we just kept adapting and adapting and adapting. And there wasn't a whole lot of thought that went into it. We're just doing what we got to do to get the car done.
Right. And you hit the nail on the head. I don't know if you realized it, but the nail on the head, you did. And the nail on the head is that you involve the people. The underutilization of our employees is one of the worst wastes there are. Over inventory is the worst waste when it comes to lean 7 types of waste. They actually call it 8 types because the 8th is the underutilization of your people. I own my shop. I'm the captain of my ship, and the way I go, and you guys get on board, and we're going this way. That's all good and nice. But if I dictate you're going to do it this way, they're like, screw you. You don't do this every day. I do.
Right.
Yeah, you get in here and do it, and then you tell me how this is supposed to happen.
Yeah.
One of the coolest. This is worthwhile. One of the coolest things I've ever seen through the Lean Enterprise Institute out of Boston. I've spent quite a bit of time there, and there's just some extremely smart people that have. Some of them have worked at Toyota for years, and Toyota in Japan. I mean, they're just their level of thinking. Toyota is the most profitable car manufacturer in the entire world. They're setting them more cash than any car manufacturer in the entire world because of their Toyota production system. But they had a tour, and I try to be short here. So we were able to go to the Georgetown, Kentucky Toyota plant, largest Toyota plant in America. And daggone, I was trying to think of my train of thought there. I lost it there. I'm sorry.
You're fine.
I got so excited about that. About the tour. Daggone.
Yes.
I'll get back up in a second. But
it's all
anyhow,
good.
About how we have to use our people in any decisions that we make, because they're the ones that are doing the work. I got you. So we stopped at the GE appliance plant in Louisville, Kentucky. I forgot about that.
Okay.
And a lot of Toyota guys were working with the GE sold off their appliance line to it's actually a Chinese company, but sold off their appliance line, and they brought engineers down on the floor to help assemble these. We were right there. They were assembling dishwashing machines and clothes washers and all that stuff. And it's called the Gemba, out where the work happens. The workplace happen is called the Gemba. So they brought the engineers out of the big high offices and all their drawings and all this other stuff, brought them down on the line and made these guys build these dishwashers and so forth. And these guys, they made them do it for a week. And this is awesome.
Wow.
Made them do it for a week. And these guys just were kicking themselves. They're like, I am such an idiot. Why did I ever design this thing this way? You can't put it together correctly.
Right.
That's back to involving our people and, hey, how can we do this better? And it's best if I just set off on the side and not say a word, and they figure out a better way to do it. If you want to know the difference between a lean shop that's really, truly lean, I mean, really, truly lean, is that you go back a year later and visit that same shop. And if everything's the same, it's not continuous improvement. They're not improving. It's just something that the owner has dictated and say, this is the way we're going to do it. And they're all good soldiers, and that's what they're going to do.
Right.
But if it's being improved upon and things look different, whether it's procedures or whatever, that's an awesome shop.
Yeah, good point. I love that, where they brought the people down on the floor. Don't you feel like that about car manufacturers sometimes?
Don't get me started. So,
yeah.
and I've been a GM fan all my life, but you take some of these designs and it's like, what in the world were you thinking? But when you work on a Toyota, I'm still a GM guy, but when you work on Toyota, you can see that, hey, the way they designed this was a better design, right, left, all these other things, that was a no-brainer sometimes. And anyhow.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. Well, Greg, we're going to have you back on because I feel like we covered so much great stuff. And I know there's so many other things that we can talk about, and we can really get we can dive a little bit more into the numbers thing if people are looking for it. And if you guys have questions for Greg, he's amazing. Is it okay, Greg, if I put like your email address down in the description? Sure. Okay. So I'll give you Greg's email. You guys can reach out. If you go onto Facebook, there's a lot of auto body collision groups on there, which is a great way to learn and see what other people are doing. There are other people sharing ideas on those groups, and it's great. And Greg's on the biggest ones that I know of. So Greg, thank you so much for being such a help to the industry. And I know you love it like I do. And I know you've helped people that are listening today. I'm excited to get everybody's feedback. If you love this episode with Greg, please shoot him a comment, let him know, because he's just doing this just because he loves the industry and he wants to help. So, give him a thumbs up, encourage him so he knows he's doing the right thing. I know how it is. Sometimes we need a pat on the back too, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah. You're just trying to make people's lives better is what I'm trying to do. My life is good. I got a good family and so forth. And if I can improve somebody's life, that's what's really fun. So.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. If you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, please make sure you go rate us, give us a 5-star rating. It helps to push it out to more people. And that's, of course, what we want to do is help more body shop owners and managers and techs and everybody else in the industry. So thanks again, everybody. And we'll see you next time on the Body Bangin' Podcast.
Thanks, folks. All right.
Bye.
Bye.
If you enjoyed today's show, make sure you hit the subscribe button. We have some incredible topics and guests coming your way you will not want to miss. If you are watching on YouTube and don't want to miss the latest and greatest, you'll want to hit the bell after subscribing, so you will get a pop-up each time a video podcast goes live. To our devoted fans, would you mind paying it forward and sharing this little gem with someone else you think may benefit from it? Much love from all of us here at Body Bangin', all things auto body.